the shelves are almost full, and just like that, the harvest season is nearly at an end. But around here, the end of one season is the beginning of another. It doesn't slow down, it just shifts to something new. It's time to cut and split wood and ready the homestead for what's coming. We need to tuck the soil in for its long winter's rest by cleaning out weeds, reshaping garden beds, and sowing cover crops. The cows move to winter pasture, and our final jars are filled with the warmth of summer, preserved for the months ahead. This is how we prepare for winter, one simple task at a time. Getting the garden ready for winter is an ongoing process this time of year, and we have a few more steps that we need to do. One step is that I want to have the garden covered as much as possible. So we planted cover crop in one area, and then I have a bunch of bare areas that don't have anything. I really need to get those planted right away because you can't put it off too long or else it won't sprout very well, it won't grow very well, and it won't cover the soil like you want it to. So I really need to get that wrapped up, and to do that, we need to remove the tarp in this area. This has been here all summer because we had some really bad Johnson grass in this area. So we're gonna get that off and get some garden beds made in this area. And then where our potatoes were, we need to get cover crop put there, and where the other potatoes were. So we have a lot of spots we need to do, and I want to get it all wrapped up in like 3 days because it's supposed to rain and not really stop raining and then get cold. So we need to just hurry and finish this up so we're ready for winter.
Run!
Watch out! Woo! Woo!
Last night we pulled off the silage tarp here, and underneath we were surprised to see there's quite a bit of asparagus that is still growing. So this silage tarp has been on here for 3 months, so it's really surprising.
Yeah, so we're gonna take the asparagus that's here and move it to the new row where I planted some earlier this spring. I had left all of this asparagus in the spot because it was intertwined with a bunch of invasive weeds like Bermuda grass and Johnson grass, and I didn't want to transplant those with the asparagus. But now all of those invasive weeds are not there anymore, they're dead, and the asparagus is still alive, which is kind of crazy. So we're just gonna take that up and move it to the new spot before we take the BCS through here and make the new garden beds.
Okay. Focus.
Yeah, Kian.
It's right here.
We just finished up a quick lunch break. Now we're back out. I'm gonna finish up this section of forming the garden beds. They're actually like already here and made. They just kind of need to be reshaped a little bit better so that we can plant right on top of this. And today is Wednesday, we have Thursday, and then Friday it's gonna rain. So I really need to hurry up on this job and get it all done before the rain and the cold hit.
Okay, Becky's finishing up some bed prep in the garden, and while she's doing that, I am going to move the cows. They are talking to me, and it's time to move them. Get them to some fresh green pasture.
We're gonna wrap up making these garden beds. I realized yesterday as I was working on the first section that I need to let go of trying to make everything perfect. I love it when everything's like perfectly straight and looks so good, but time is of the essence here, so trying really hard to just get it to be good enough so we can at least get all of this stuff planted before the rain comes and before it gets too cold and the sunlight hours get to be too little. And then, like I said before, I would not be able to get the coverage I need for these garden beds, so gotta get cracking on it really quick. Cam finished up with the cows, and now hopefully with two of us we can get this done really fast. Right, Cam?
Yeah, we'll get it done really fast.
We finished making the garden beds. Now it's time to add some amendments, just like I did last time. This time I am adding the Mineralyte and the kelp meal, but this area was particularly low in potassium, sulfur, and magnesium, which is a good candidate for using langbonite. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that in here as well. The good thing about prepping all of these beds right now is that one of the things I've noticed is in the spring, a lot of times we get so much wet weather that we can't even do anything with the soil. And with all of these garden beds pretty much ready to go, all we'll need to do is tarp them, and then we can pull off the tarps and plant right into that, and we won't need to like work with the soil at all. Even if it's wet, it'll be ready to go. Cruz just caught a little baby frog. He's been working on pulling out the tomatoes, and we're also pulling out the peppers, and he's putting them all in a box, and we're gonna preserve those, and then we'll be done for the year. We're losing daylight really quickly here, and I need to get all of the seed broadcasted. So we finished up adding the amendments. Cam mixed those in with the Power Harrow. So all that's really left is just broadcasting those seeds. I have an already pre-made overwintering cover crop mix that I'm gonna do on some of the garden beds, but I can't use it on everything. I had this realization as I was kind of going along today that I couldn't just cover everything with the same overwintering mix. I need some cover crops that are going to winter kill. So I'm going to use a bunch of cool season cover crops, and I'm gonna make my own mix because I don't have one like pre-made. They'll grow in this nice cool weather and get several inches on them, and then once the temperatures get cold enough, then they will die off. Cover the soil and make it really easy in the spring for us to just pull that away and plant right into that, because we have things like peas and onions that we plant in the very early spring, in the middle of March time frame. So we need to have a few garden beds that have that cool season mix that will die eventually in the cold weather, and then just be ready to go in the spring.
Hi.
Hi.
Seeds.
Yeah, seeds.
That's good. I've tried those.
Da, dee, da, dee, da.
Okay, I'm just about finished planting all of these cover crop seeds. I did 4 rows of the cool season mix. The rest of the rows I did the overwintering mix. The ones with the cool season mix, those had oats in them, and the oat seeds that I have, I know those are at least 2 years old. They could be 3 years old, and that makes me a little bit nervous because I'm not sure how the germination is gonna be. I really hope that they still sprout. The last step is to get all this raked in. We don't need to set up any irrigation because it's going to rain tomorrow. Our power is out right now. It actually goes out pretty often. We'll have like a couple months where nothing goes out, and then all of a sudden goes out like, you know, every other day. Yeah. So it is very important for us to have backup power in place. That's why we love the Jackery HomePower 3600 Plus, because we don't have to worry when the power goes out. We had a fire going today, and to run the fan for the fireplace, it does take electrical. So we just unplugged what was there and plugged in the Jackeries. Seems like we have power on, but we actually don't. The Jackery is just powering the fireplace so we can still have heat.
The more times we use Jackery in our home, it seems like panic mode happens less and less because it's just everything's covered.
Another thing I really love about the Jackery is that it doesn't require a lot of maintenance or upkeep. We do actually have a gas powered generator as well, and we found out over the years that we've had it that it requires a lot of maintenance and a lot of funds going into that to keep it up. And so far all of the Jackeries that we've had, no maintenance, no upkeep. It's very easy.
Pull them out of the closet and use them.
They always work.
We are big on portability here in the Homestead, so it only makes sense that our power unit is also ultra portable. This Jackery unit is the world's lightest and smallest power station for its class. It's super easy to transport and take wherever we have a project going on or a need for portable power. When we first got this power station, I thought we were never going to need all of these ports. To my surprise, I filled those up quicker than ever, whether it's plugging in a phone, providing power to a handheld miter saw for a repair that I'm doing away from the house, or powering a portable light for a nighttime job. Sometimes I'll even do all these at the same time, and the Jackery handles it with ease. We love the ability to pair this unit with fast charging solar panels. This gives us off-grid, worry-free power in an emergency. If you're looking for a solution for home backup power that gives you the peace of mind that we've talked about, check the link in our description for more information on Jackery's HomePower 3600 Plus. We woke up this morning and it was 46 degrees. Fall is here and winter is right around the corner. What I have behind me is a massive wood pile. So, problem is, I hate to admit this, as much as I love chopping wood and working with wood, I've never had a full season's worth of wood ready before winter comes. So we've just gotten busy with other stuff. There's always stuff to do here. So I'm gonna try real hard this fall to get this wood chopped, split, stacked, ready for winter. The kids are all home today and it's a nice cool morning, so we're all gonna come out here, work together, and try to knock out a lot of this wood. And then we won't get it all done today, and that's totally fine. But if we can get it started, that'll make me feel better, and I think Becky will feel better too. And we'll keep building our supply of wood for the winter. Yep, I can hear it. Oh, okay, nice. One more strong hit right in the middle. There we go.
Are you supposed to do? Whoa.
Yes.
Last piece.
Thick red oak.
We're planning on canning some chili today. I wanted to mix things up a little bit. I've never canned chili before, and I wanted to add that to our pantry staples. The ready-made meals that we make, when you make them year after year after year, sometimes that can get a little bit old, or at least it is getting a little bit old for me. So I want to add something new this year, and that's why we're doing the chili. I still have a lot of tomatoes and peppers, and I'm going to harvest those right now since we still haven't had a frost yet. And I am just doing a small batch of this to start. It's supposed to make 6 or 7 quarts, just 1 canner load. I want to make sure that we actually like this before we make a larger batch. So as expected, the weather was chilly and rainy, and it rained pretty much all day long. And I was so grateful to be able to have the high tunnels to harvest in. It made harvesting much easier, and I was able to stay mostly dry. After harvesting, I was really cold, so I asked Cam to start a fire. This is our first fire of the fall season. When we're in the shoulder seasons and it's not freezing cold every single day, we just make a fire in our fireplace in the living room, and we let that heat the house. When it gets really cold, that's when we start our wood boiler, because we keep that going all winter long, and you really don't want to stop it once it starts. So the first step in making this chili was to soak the beans, and I did not do that the night before, so I ended up doing a quick soak. I did that right before I went outside to harvest everything, and by the time I came back inside, the beans were ready to rinse off. And then I needed to simmer the beans for 30 minutes. And while we were doing that, Kian, he chopped up some peppers for me. We did mostly bell peppers and some jalapenos. And then he also chopped up the onions that were needed for the recipe. Meanwhile, I got a pot of water boiling and put the tomatoes in that so I could put them in cold water right after and then take the skins off. I didn't want to pop open any jars of tomatoes that I had canned this season. I just wanted to use what I already had out in the garden. So even though this recipe is actually really simple, it took a little bit longer because I was making those tomatoes from scratch instead of using already canned jars. I definitely have a tendency to overestimate what I can accomplish in a day. And yesterday I had started making this chili thinking I could finish it all in one day, but that was not the case. And that was mostly because in the morning I had prepped dinner in advance, and I had also made a cheesecake because we were celebrating Noelle's birthday in the evenings. And by the time it hit 5 o'clock and it was time to focus on Noelle and family, I had not made it very far on the chili, so we just put everything in the refrigerator for the evening, and today I'm going to finish that up. Something I noticed right away, even before I started making this recipe, is after looking at the ingredients, I knew that there wasn't much liquid in the ingredients, and that was going to be an issue. So I was following this recipe from the Amish canning cookbook, and it's basically almost an exact copycat of one from the National Center for Home Food Preservation. Both of those recipes have that same issue. There is water in the recipe, but they say to cook the beans in the water and then drain the beans and the water. So what you're left with is 3 quarts of tomatoes and the juices as the liquid for this entire batch of chili. And I just knew that that was not right, and it wasn't going to turn out right. So I measured everything out and looked at it, and I confirmed that it was not enough liquid. So I ended up doubling the amount of tomatoes in this recipe, and then it still probably could have used a little bit more liquid, but that was just enough to make it work. Usually with canning recipes, you don't want to mess around with the recipe. However, this canning recipe is being pressure canned, and it's being pressure canned for the full 90 minutes. This is the amount of time that is often used for soups with meat. And chili is basically a soup with meat. So making that adjustment of adding more tomatoes is not making this recipe unsafe. It's still perfectly safe because it is pressure canned for the full amount of time, and there is no way any botulism spores can survive that. So just to make that clear, with water bath canning, you should not change any ingredients that affect the acidity. But with pressure canning, if you're pressure canning for the full 90 minutes, you can adjust a few things, especially if you are keeping a good viscosity of the end result. And honestly, the addition of more tomatoes actually made this better because there was enough liquid in there for it to can properly. The other thing I ended up adjusting on this recipe was the dried spices. It was extremely bland as it was, so I added a bunch more chili powder. I added some of our homemade cayenne pepper, and then I added some of Redmond's hickory smoked sea salt, and it gave it a really good flavor.